I think for me, the most important thing is to accept who I am and to accept the present, and and as I said, I always try to stay positive and try to look at the good things in life, what I have. And after that attack, when I realized that I had lost hearing in my left ear, that I had my facial nerve for the left side of my face was cut down, and the movement of my left side of my face was affected. And then later on, I did surgery, and it improved, and that I realized that it can never go perfect again. And I realized that the things I had lost, and I think it just reminded me of the things I had and the things I should be thankful for having a vision, to being able to hear, to being able to speak, and to being able to be thankful for what I have, from things that I have personally in my body, but also to have family, to have friends, to be together with them, to enjoy each and every moment of my life. So I try to stay positive. But then there are hard times when you get nervous. I'm not like a completely perfect person that every day is a happy day. And hardships do come in life. There are moments when you hear things, you hear bad comments from people, you have exam stress, you have that anxiety, you are worried about your speech, what you are going to say tomorrow, how things are going to happen, whether you are on the right path, whether you need to do something more in life. So we all go through these difficulties, these challenges in our life, but I think the best thing is to be patient and to give yourself time. Don't be in any hurry, don't stress yourself, to give yourself time. And that's what I did. I give myself time, and I said, focus on your studies, do the work that you can right now in your school's study time, stay focused on yourself, build up yourself, learn, and live a normal life as a student, as a girl. And so that's what I did, and that's how I made sure I recover in a very positive and safe way.
Hi, my question is for Sheryl about teaching kids resilience. I think sometimes as a parent, you have a desire to protect your kids and shield them from heartache, but you also, I think as a parent, have a responsibility to teach them to be resilient. So how do you find that balance? And do you have any advice for that?
We've studied this extensively. I'm going to let Adam answer this question. We wrote a chapter about this in our book.
There's a great book by Julie Lythcott-Hames called How to Raise an Adult, which is all about this. And it says the first thing you have to do is normalize struggle. You cannot protect your children from all struggle, right? They will have challenges, whether they fail an exam or they don't make the football team, or they forget their lines in a school play. And I think that you have to show them that that is okay, right? That's normal, that happens to you, and that means letting them see you struggle too. The other thing we found from the research on raising resilient kids is kids have to know that they matter. And mattering is just the belief that other people notice you, care about you, and rely on you. And I think as parents, I know as a parent, I know the first two pieces of that. They're really clear. Pay attention to your kids, right? Show that you love them, check. But we forget that kids also need to feel relied on and depended on, that other people count on them, and that's part of what signals to them, look, I have confidence in you, right? I believe you have strength. And so I think one thing that we can all do, those of us who have kids, is when you face a big challenge, you go to your kids and you ask them for advice. What would you do in this situation? And it teaches them that they're trusted to deal with it, and then it also lets them practice the coping skills that they're going to need once they do face hardship.
This is for Sheryl. What has been one of your biggest challenges being COO of Facebook?
What was the question?
I think we applaud for the question, first of all.
Woo! Adam, did you hear it?
For those who couldn't hear, the question was, Sheryl, what's been one of your biggest challenges as COO of Facebook?
Well, I just want to thank you for making my night and leaning in and asking a question. How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 10.
Yay! Wow. Well, I think we all look forward to what you're going to do. The challenges have changed. I think the first and most important challenge when I showed up is trying to figure out how to scale the company and how to have a business model. So when I first showed up at Facebook, We were very good at connecting people and helping them share, but we weren't so good at making the money that would pay to connect people and help them share. And it turns out that for a business, that's an unsustainable place to be. But we do that very well now, often led by great women. Nicola Mendelssohn's here. Nicola, stand up. Nicola runs EMEA for Facebook, and she is incredible. And so one of the ways I met that challenge is I just found fantastic people around the world to hire and gave them the opportunity to do what they do.
If we have any other girls in the audience who want to demonstrate their executive leadership skills, now would be a great time.
Now's your time. We'll take any of those
over
questions.
here.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for coming over to England and speaking. My question is a bit explicit, but in the current global social climate, where the self-styled leader of the free world, the President of the United States, advocates grabbing women by the pussy, how can we look children in the eyes and say that sexual and psychological violence against women isn't legitimized?
There's no place for violence against women, and there's no place of any kind. Unfortunately, violence against boys, girls, men, women has been part of every culture. It remains part of every culture. There is against both genders, there is more against women. And it is completely unacceptable. And we know that. And we know that as we think about how we raise our sons, how we raise our daughters, and how we make sure there's no tolerance for that behavior, of any kind. I think people worry about what's happening to girls on college campuses. They should be worried about that. People worry about what happens to kids in families when they're on the street. And silence is the enemy of all of this. For many, many, literally hundreds of years, this stuff always happened and wasn't talked about. And we need to shine a bright spotlight on it and make sure we don't teach it and we don't tolerate it. Always.
And I'll just add one thing to that. And I think I've always been really worried and really careful about this, is that we should not harm anyone, whether that is harming them physically or harming them mentally. We should not harm anyone. And I think that's the biggest mistake, or the wrong thing, or the wrong deed, or the sin, or anything we call it, that is ever we can do, is harm another person, is harm their feelings, is hurt them, and I think that's something we should always avoid in our life. If we want to be responsible people, if we want to be good people, that you need to take care of other people. And I think it's our social responsibility. It is our responsibility as individuals as well, that we make sure that we do not cause any pain, any harm in anyone's life. So make sure that before you comment, before you say anything, you're taking care of people, you're thinking about their feelings and their emotions, and just consider those people as yourself, be in their position and think about them, how you would feel if you were instead of them. So it's important that we care for others, that we count them as equal to ourselves, and that we know that if someone had harmed us, how we would have felt. So let's avoid any harm, any pain for others, and know that it's your responsibility not to harm, because sometimes we just don't care, and I think it's important. It's so shocking that people on leadership skills, you want them to be role models, you want them to be running countries. If you hear these hateful comments, if you hear these comments that are gender biased, that are sexist, this is really, really harmful for society. You're telling people it's okay to be sexist, it's okay to be racist, it's okay to harm people, whether that's through your bad comment or whether that's physically, that you are telling the people it's okay, but it's not okay. We have to be careful, we have to be responsible, and we have to make sure that we realize that we are living in a civilized society, we are human beings, and we have this sense of being nice to each other, and we have this sense that we should not harm others.
We're going to go over here next. I just want to add quickly, I think this is one of the reasons we need more women leaders. The data are very clear across countries that when we have women in politics and leadership roles, we actually see more peace. And I think it's a travesty that I've done this for years with students. I've asked them to name who are the leaders that you admire most, who are your role models. Over 1,000 answers, only 2 women have been named. And those 2 women are actually Malala and Sheryl.
But that's a problem.
It's a huge problem.
That's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem, and I think that we have lots of women who name male leaders as role models. We need to be able to say, look, as a man, these are 2 of my role models, and they are both women, and that's something we should all look up to. Over here.
This is
Sheryl. How did you help your children be strong through the hard times?
How did I help my children be strong with hard times? Well, thank you guys for leading in and asking a question. Well, when my kids, they lost their father suddenly. My children were 7 and 10, which is something I never expected to happen. And flying home to tell my children that their father was gone. There were a lot of very terrible moments in this whole thing, but that might have been the worst. And I remember Adam telling me that they were going to get through it, that they were going to get through it. And they did. And they still miss him, I still miss him, but even my kids have grown from this horrific experience. I would take that growth away from them and give them back their father, but I can't. But in a sure sign of post-traumatic growth, my son's basketball team lost the playoffs. And all the other little boys were crying, and I looked at my son, and he looked fine, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he rolled his eye, and he said, "Mom, this is 6th grade basketball." He said, "I'm fine." And I was talking with these amazing young men and women at Drive Forward. The hard things in our life, we would not choose them, but they make us stronger. My son has been through a lot, and he knows he can go through a lot. And I wouldn't wish that on any of us, but when the hard moments happen, finding the strength within us to get through them. And I hope for the 2 of you, nothing really bad happens, but if you don't do as well as you need to on a test or want to, or someone takes your seat in the lunch line, I hope those are the worst adversities you face. But I think even in those, you realize you get through it and you get stronger. We do. That's resilience.
Sheryl, you talked about destroying stereotypes in a family setting, but let's face it, a lot of the people in charge of policy are coming in with a sexist mindset. How do we change their mindsets, which are so deeply ingrained, so that we can get effective change now?
We argue for the public policies we need. We get more women elected. Absolutely. So if you're sitting here and you think you might want to run for office, run. And if you're sitting here and you think you might not, run anyway if you're a woman. And those 3 young girls who asked a question, all 3 of you, for sure. But we need to get more women elected. We need to get more women running companies. When women run companies, those companies have better family-friendly policies. When we experience loss, most people in the United States get very little leave, very little paid leave, and bereavement leave is something a lot of companies don't really focus on. After I lost Dave, we changed Facebook bereavement leave. It was pretty good before, it was 10 days, and now it's 20. And other companies are starting to follow suit. More women, I think, running more companies, and then making the case that how our society treats the people who need the most help, how our companies treat our employees, how we treat each other makes us stronger. Make the case that this is not just the right thing to do, but the smart thing to do.
Who stands by you and gives you hope in the darkest corners?
I think that's for you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Who stands by you and gives you hope in the darkest corners?
Did you hear?
Who stands by you and gives you hope in your darkest corners?
My parents, and I think also the people who have supported me, and I think there is a lot to celebrate And there are a lot of people who can help you and support you. We just need to think for a second and appreciate who we have. So definitely my friends and my family.
And I think we're about time in terms of wrap up. I do want to give you each a chance to give a final word. And there is this lovely family tradition in Sheryl's house of asking for a best, worst, and most grateful moment of the day. And it would be wonderful to hear each of yours.
I think worst I would say is that I'm just still thinking about my exams. Still thinking about all the mistakes that I think I have made and that I think I'm going to get D's and E grades.
She never gets those.
No, I do. And then I think the best thing is meeting you all, talking to you all, and then sharing our feelings, sharing our thoughts, and I think just coming together. I think this is one of the best moments. And what was the third one?
Great.
Got it. Best, worst,
Yeah.
grateful.
Okay.
My best moment of the day is being here with just this unbelievable woman who, is not just the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner, but is a symbol of peace and hope for me and so many others around the world, and my dearest friend, Adam. My worst, we always say this, my house is always the same, it's losing Dave. And I'm grateful for what I learned today from Martha and the unbelievable young men and women at Drive Forward. You taught me and showed me what resilience and collective resilience can look like today. And it's a lesson I will take with me for the rest of my life. So I'm grateful to you.